Good evening and good morning to everyone. I am Biko Kaisupi on Buddhasasana, an online broadcasting program of the CBMS, the Cambodian Buddhist Monk Society in USA. And today we are continuing our topic on Dhammayatra by Samdech Maha Ghosananda. Before I begin, I would like to pay my homage to the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha with my high respect, and also my respect to all venerable monks who happen to watch this program. And also I would like to pay my respect to Venerable Dr. Yuan Seng Yet, and also my greeting to both of you as a speaker on this program. And once again, welcome. As we are continuing this topic, before we are going into our discussion, I would like to inform again our viewers that many or some people who happen to watch this and then do not understand or curious why are Cambodian people speaking English on this program. So I would like to inform you that we have created this program purposely for non-Cambodian speaker. And of course, we can never speak like an American or a native speaker because we were not born or raised in this country. But we just want to do our part, our duty in sharing our knowledge, and more importantly, our Buddhist perspective and the teaching of the Buddha. I can assure you that a bunch of people here could speak a bunch of languages, but we choose to speak in English because we want to reach out to the people who do not understand us, so we can share our understanding and as well as our respect to the people who might be curious of what we are doing. So this is our purpose, and I hope you all understand that we are trying our best to share our knowledge as well as to share our cultures to the people who are interested in this program. And of course, sometimes I myself as a moderator do not understand myself. Why do I have to speak English in this program? Because I was not trained. I have never participated in any program that trained the people to speak in front of the camera, and especially on the online. Because we are living in a different world right now. People are using online, or using internet to reach out, to communicate, to share our value. So that's why we are doing this thing online, to share the same thing. So we hope that people can live together peacefully by understanding each other. So this is it. This is why we are using English and broadcasting it on internet, because we hope that this could create a positive energy to the people who are living in different corners of the world. So yes, once again, welcome. And as you have already participated with this program for last week, and then today is the second week for this topic. And personally, as I said, this is a very exciting topics for me, because I am interested in learning about our senior scholars who had pioneered the pathway for us to come in different countries. So I would like to start with Venerable Yuan Seng Yet. To your personal knowledge, how many languages can Samdech Maha Ghosananda speak? Could you please share with us? Thank you.
My deep respect to the Noble Triple Gem and to Venerable Moderator, to Ek and to Saram. I'm very happy to be part of this program once again. to the best of my knowledge, and for a number of years that I had followed Maha Ghosananda, and usually I uh, always try to listen to his Dhamma talk most of the time during the walks. Um, I used to hear him preaching in French, Lao, Thai, Cambodian, English, uh, and sometimes, normally, he combined the language in his preaching. Around 5 or 6 languages, which I heard personally from him. But there are some people who said that he speak 15 languages, which I cannot find a source to verify this statement. But I met one Japanese lady a few years ago. She said that Maha used to speak Japanese very fluently. She heard it by herself in Japan, but I never heard him speaking Japanese during the talk. Yes.
Thank you so much. So yes, that is I want to go a little bit into his education because that is would be the source of his work, and also because I think people are interested in his education. I don't know whether Ik, do you have any knowledge about his education background? If you have, please could you please share with us about his education background, and because we want to know his pathway of reaching out to the international community, because I think that education is the most important tools that could support him to communicate and to reaching out the international communities. So if you have any knowledge, could you please share with us according to your academic research? So can you share with us about his background, education background? Thank you.
I'd like to thank Venerable Guy Sophia to inviting me for a second time of sharing this experience. And also greetings to Venerable Yon Sing Yet and Sarom, and all listeners. I would say it briefly, but please correct me, Venerable Yon Seng Yet, because you are now working on, biography of Maha directly. So briefly speaking, he has his primary education, which is, the knowledge about Buddhism. He studied Bali. He studied the knowledge about Buddhism in Cambodia for his elementary level. And he finished his college and his primary degree in Cambodia before he continued to study his PhD in India. And I would say, in terms of his education, we could see that in two perspectives. I mean, the formal education that he pursued, that means his primary degree in Cambodia and also the advanced degree in terms of PhD in India. But in terms of informal education, he has been exposed to various kinds of knowledge, especially the time when he was in India. He had a chance to meet with one of the prominent human being, that is Venerable Nichidatsu Fuji, a Japanese monk who is a good friend of Mahatma Gandhi, the peacemaker, the global peacemaker from India. And at that point, he had learned the perspectives on nonviolence and how to make peace in the from the context that he learned from Venerable Nichidatsu Fuji. That means after the World War II, Nichidatsu Fuji, he was the person who initiated the project of building peace pagoda around the world, starting from the two places where many suffer from the atomic bombing, That means in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So he started to build, the peace pagodas around the world, and also including in India too. And at that point, that I think Maha Ghosananda also benefited from, learning from him about this, peacemaking efforts. And also he had a chance to spend some time in southern Thailand learning about meditation. I think all of these things combined together, and create Maha Ghosananda as a person who are knowledgeable, not only the worldly matters, the formal education, but also the informal education, which is also as important as the worldly education. Yeah, I would say about his education briefly.
Thank you so much. So we can see the connection uh, for those who are the public figures and a peace seeker. We can say, no, people when they suffer so much, so people rise, and then the best way of overcoming suffering is peace, and peace is the best medicines. And then in order to create those medicines, it is important to find ingredients, and that is the path. I think this is one of the things that people who have suffered with the circumstances that they were facing in their life, and then they woke up and raised awareness to the people around the world. And then the one thing that I can see, that those people come together, a peace seeker, they come together and work together. So I also yes, this is one of the connection. But I would like to hear from Srom as well, to the best of your knowledge. What can you share with us about his education background? So all of us can move to the next part. So could you please share with us? Thank you.
Good night, Michael. All good. I think in step by step, like they said that he can speak like 15 languages, but I don't know. I never heard him, only some English and French. But in one experience, in one meeting, I don't remember a man or woman asked him in Myanmar or Burmese language, and then he's from Burma, but asking in English to Maha, and Maha replies, in Burmese, and beautiful Burmese back to the question that were asked in English. So I heard my friend say that even though he speaks like so many languages, but the language that he speaks best is the language of peace, or the language from the heart. I think this is one of his attractions. And back to his formal educations, or informal education, it also mentions about I think that the sex is called, the Japanese sex is called Nipponzan biology. That Maha hung out a lot with the Japanese, friends while he was in India. And these Japanese sect, they're quite good, and they're preserved, like complete silent. They speak few words. I think he probably got influences from Zen Buddhism, because to me, I've seen Maha more Zen's in a sense of a Buddhist practice. And one time when in the walk, there's a lot of non-Cambodians, like those who were former AIDS workers in the camps, and they organized and who behind, the peace walk, especially for the first one. And they, before the walk, they train a lot about nonviolent actions and stuff and peace building. And then they go to Maha and told Maha that, Gandhi, he led a very famous peace walk, Salt March, in the process of gaining independence from England. And then Maha replied, like over 2,000 years ago, there's a monk who led, the walk. He led his disciple to go to places there that they are suffering, there's conflict. And that monk was Buddha. So if you read Gandhi will say that non-violence is, like old as hell. It's not he is the one who created or the Buddha, but actually it was there. It's long. It's a thousand years. So this like knowledge, these kinds of practices, it's been going on for centuries. It's going on for years and years. So a lot of people were surprised to hear Maha say that, but actually it was true. And I think his educations, his formal or informal education is very important, a part of his being. So I think he keep learning. The best thing about him, because he speak a little, so he learned a lot during his life. And like the moderator when it was told us that, like you said, because of these sufferings, because of these great suffering comes great compassion. So those, if you look at the teachers, history of teachers of the world, you'll see that they all come, gone through, some part of their lives with deep suffering. That's why they become who they are. They're a heart full of compassion. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So I can sense the connection about his work. Because the Japanese people suffer greatly because of after the Second World War. So they are very traumatized, and at the same time India as well. So I think we can see that his connection and his or we can say his passion of raising or seeking peace for the people who are suffer, because he's engaged with the Japanese people as well as the India. That's why I heard the story. I heard the people saying that Samdech Maha Ghosananda is a Cambodian Gandhi. So I think his work is something that we really need to look deeper into his works. But again, I would like to turn the question to Venerable Jan Seng Yet. Of course, each and every one of us are suffered from the past, and not just our four of us here, but I think some the people in the world, we are experiencing suffering. But and then we also want to raise the awareness, and at the same time we want to share to the world, and also we want to inspire the people in the world to overcome the suffering. But the problem is that it is extremely difficult to initiate ourselves, or in his case of some like Brahma Ghosananda, raising his case to the world communities, to the international communities. When I wonder whether if you can share with us his case here, meaning the suffering of the Cambodian peoples. How can he bring this case or raise the awareness into the international communities about the Cambodian suffering? Because sometimes, of course, a lot of Cambodian people wanted to raise, but sometimes you cannot just go and tell people, hey, Cambodian people are suffering, can you come and help us like that? No, it doesn't work that way. But for Venerable Samdech Maha Ghosananda, I just want to learn his steps. So it's important for all of us to go step by step and understand his strategies in initiating himself to the international communities, and at the same time raise awareness about suffering of the Cambodian people to the world. So if you have any knowledge, if you can share his tactics and his strategies with us, I think it would be very important to all of us to learn. Please, Venerable Jan Seng Yet.
From the very beginning of his service to Cambodian people, he's clearly said that the sufferings of Cambodian people has been deep and very deep from the Civil War broke out in 1979, because at that time he was in Thailand, and he was considered as one of the most reclusive monks in the monastery, meaning that he never come out of his room except he had been assigned to give a Dhamma talk or to join the daily schedule of the practice. And there was only one person who he associated with very closely, that was Christopher Titmus. At that time, he was a monk at the same time. And Christopher said that even though Maha never opened his window, he always sit inside his hut. And when he heard the The Civil War broke out in 1979 when the former King Rodam Sen was ousted, and then the fighting was started, and he asked Christopher to come into his room, and he hold Christopher's hand and say that the rivers in Cambodia has been blooded now, full of bloods. And Christopher noted his eye that he see that his eye is full of compassion and worries, that he was thinking about his own people. And that was the moment that Christopher sees something greatness in Maha Ghosananda, that this man is gonna do something for his people. And in 1979, there was an article published by the Western Journal saying that Maha Ghosananda used to give a preaching to the refugees who escaped the war from Cambodia and settled down along the border. But the early days of the camp was not very good. So in that article, it was written that Maha gave a speech to thousands of refugees, and what we heard only the cough and the preaching, which full of the this forest, and the where the people sit is full of dirtiness and excrements, urinations. But the refugees, the suffering of the refugee had been calmed by the preaching of that single monk. And he compared that preaching to someone who just came from somewhere and helped the people. And the approach that Maha Ghosananda took was very simple. I think maybe because of Cambodian people are Buddhist, most of them are Buddhist, so Maha Ghosananda used the Buddhist way of approach how to solve the problems in that sense. So he started to preach the sutra called the Metta Sutta, the Sutta of loving kindness. So he said that only love can help the people. And as I read out the statement last week, and it was very moving and touching how he stepped in to tell the people that suffering is bad and how to get out of it, because we know that about 2 million people were killed. Each and every family had been each and every family has a member had been persecuted by the Khmer Rouge. So the people was plunged into the ocean of hatred, confusion, defilement, anger. And it is not easy to tell the anger people to be peaceful. That is, we have to approach very carefully and with a very effective ways. Otherwise, there will be a retaliation. So Maha Ghosananda started with the loving kindness, and he said, I'm gonna read it again. He said, right now, Cambodian people have nothing left except forgiveness and compassion. Because at that time, there is no question of who is right and who is wrong. There is no question of justice or injustice. At that moment, we have to have a starting point. So we start with the forgiveness and compassion. To the end of conflict, it has to begin with what is right and what is wrong, not who is right and who is wrong. And you know that in the camp along the Thai-Cambodian border, it is not only the one faction. It has Khmer Rouge sections. Some camps run by the Khmer Rouge, and some camps run by the former kings groups. And there were so many camps run by different resistance groups. The one who are fighting to get the legitimacy to rule the country at that time. So even though in the camp there was going on the murdering, because some Khmer Rouge disguised themselves as normal people, but they had been accidentally found out that this was a Khmer Rouge cadres who used to kill my mother, my brother, my sister. So there was a killing going on, and each and every morning there were a number of bodies lay down on the street, and they had to remove all those bodies, because this is the hatred which had been, started from the very first day of the government of the Khmer. So Maha Ghosananda used compassion and forgiveness. With that, I think, on the other hand, with his own personality, with his own identities as a monk, so it may be more easy or more acceptable to the Cambodian refugee those days, that he can listen to these monks, because they had sufferings, and Maha Ghosananda stepped in by telling the love, only the one who can end these sufferings. And people were very happy to see them. There was a witness. There's some witness who see that how Maha Ghosananda meet those refugees. Some people did not think about the other thing. They were very happy to see the monk back after 3 years of in absence. And some people see Maha Ghosananda in different personalities. Some people call him as a Prabhat Thomak who come from somewhere heaven or whatever. This is what the mentality of Cambodian people. Some people say Maha Ghosananda is the simple monk who preach a great message. So my point here is the methodology used by Maha on the first day is to preach love. But the way he preached, I cannot describe here. Only when you listen to him personally and in person, you will find a way to love his preaching. And especially his physical personality is so sweet and extremely harmful, extremely harmless. We cannot describe the way he is, but we can see something greatness in this man. So harmless man, so harmless personality, and very kind of sweet and coolness. The way he smile, but he know what he's doing. He know what he's doing. Not just saying something purposelessly. Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much. That is a whole bunch of knowledge that we can learn about him. So I would like to ask the same question to Ik as well. What have you learned about? I mean, the most important thing, there's something about his characteristic, because people in the world, I know we have a lot of scholars who have a lot of knowledge, but we couldn't find someone who dedicated too much to work for the sake of the others. We, of course, all of us, we can say that wanted to see people living in peace and happy, but to dedicate their energies, to put more efforts in helping those people, it's very difficult. So I want to I want to share with the people what was his characteristic and what was his intention and what was his purpose, and more importantly his great dedication to the people that we all need to learn. So if you have any knowledge based on according to your research, so could you please share with us the same? Thank you.
So first of all, I would like to add one more thing that I missed, from the first round that I share my perspective. One thing that we should mention about his educational background is, he is considered one of the most favorite students by Samdech Chulna, the former Supreme Patriarch of Cambodia. And he is always a role model ever for Cambodian society, especially in terms of education. Even now, when you refer to, how to use Khmer language properly, though there are a lot of new dictionaries, we still use the term, just look up, for the word at Vajjananukrom Samdech Chulna, and if we consider this part as important role model, we can understand that Maha Ghosananda as one of the most talented student of Samdech Chulna, that he himself could look at his teacher as a role model in terms of education too. And with that, this reminded me of the first walk, the first Dhammayatra, happening along the Thai and Cambodian border. So one of the first thing as I interview some of the people who get involved with the first walk, especially Bob March also, mentioning this is my favorite part of that event. One of the things that he reminded people not to forget is please don't forget to bring up the image of his teacher, Samdech to be at the front, of Dhammayatra. I think this is one of the most impressive thing that I would, expand this later on when talking about the ways in which he disseminates his insights, his knowledge, or his loving kindness, or whatever kinds of dharma to the people. So I think it can be concised within one example. That's this is something very common to many of his students. If even Sarom, I love your metaphor of him as a Zen, like the Zen monk. That's like he talk less, and he always live his life as the example. One of the most impressive scene of his life is when he met the children or whoever he met along the way. He would always give them 3 candies. So this is in Khmer we call Bai Krok, as his usual behavior. He always give out the 3 candies to everybody, and he will give it one by one to each people's hand by saying Satcha, meaning truthfulness, Khanti, that means tolerance, and Katanyu, or the gratitude. And I can see that in his, I can see his message manifested in what he had been doing. Yeah, I think this is one thing that's consider as the most impressive image that I could remember about him. Yeah, when he teach people, this is very simple, but at the same time it's very deep.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I've heard that a lot of Cambodian Buddhist monks use these 3 Dhamma teachings to disseminate the teaching of the Buddha, as well as referring to him as a role model. So it is important to all of us that to have truthfulness and tolerance and grateful, being grateful for what you have, being grateful for those who have done so much thing to you. So yeah, this is it's very simple, and if you pay attention to these teachings, it's deeply rooted within ourselves, and if we can keep it within ourselves, then peace and happiness definitely will be exist with one individual and people around. So the same thing, I also would like to learn from Sage Saram as well, to the best of your knowledge. I just want to learn about his characteristics and his initiative to the international communities, because it is important for all of us as a younger generation to learn, because sometimes we want to do a lot of great things, but sometimes we forget the simple things around us, and then we also sometimes blame ourselves that why I couldn't do it. I want to help the world, I want to help people, but sometimes we overlook the necessary things around us, and more importantly, as a role model, to be an example to the people around you, and that is the goodness that we all need to commit. But so and then at the same time, we need to learn from our scholars and the past hero we can consider him as a hero. So, Sejong, could you please share with us your knowledge and your perspective and your understanding, and for what you have learned from his characteristic and his works and his initiative to the international communities. Thank you.
Yeah. I think I'm still wondering as well, because like we all know that he speaks very few words, and how can he communicate? How can he reach out to the world? And this is still that's something that I need to to learn more and to done more research on him. But the thing is, because after the war, he came out after the war, and a lot of people, a lot of Cambodians or as well as other people look up to him. And I think even though he's speak a few words, but he get involved in so many activities. I think he set up the INEP, one of the founders with the Dalai Lamas and Ajahn Sulak, set up the INEP, International Engaged Buddhism in Thailand. And also he's also attend so many conferences with the Dalai Lamas and the popes, and also one of the monks who went out, to other countries, because Cambodian refugees were sponsored to live in the third countries, like in America, so Europe and Australia. So he probably, maybe Bang Diet and it might know more about this, that he set up a lot of temples for those Cambodians refugees that live all over the world. So he get involved. He work, his philosophy. If you see suffering, if you see something that you can do, go for it. So this is one of the things that he can reach out, and a lot of people can see him and his personalities and his philosophy, his way of life. Like Bang Diet mentioned last week, like my life is my message. That's his life. So this is one of the attractions. Like when he went to the conference, he speak very few words, and like you expected big, teachers to talk and give out message, and then he only speak a few words, and this is maybe one of his attractions. People want to learn more from him. Yeah, so I think for me, it's just the way he is, it just go out, and he's so kind. He's the most kind person that I've ever met. Everywhere he go, he has to have candies, he have to have books. Even he walk on the street, he have to give out step by steps and all the massacres and all these kind of book to motor drivers, and to the kids. So even I heard that when he got awarded the Nirvana Peace Prize, and he got a prize, and if someone asked him, he will give away. Doesn't want, have anything with him. If he have a lot of, anyone can approach him and ask him, and then keep giving. Yeah, that's I never seen, this kind. Even though you are so holy, but somehow you keep something that give into yourself. But not Maha. When we went to meet him in the house, he was staying in a very, with his followers, they were very respectful to him and had built a library for him, and had built a very beautiful statue of him and put in the house. And then when me and Bob went there, and he just went in to collect, to take everything that's inside the house and give out to guests. Even on that day, Bob and me get, the hot towel that they put in the bathroom. He just bring those towel and give it to us. And then the house owner just wink their eyes at, please, when you go, please keep it for me, because he's keep giving everything in my house away. So please give me back. Please give me back. So that I find that it's just amazing. I think his way, his personality, his way that attract people, and he can reach out for more people. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So this is indicated that the selflessness of his characteristics, and it's very rare to see people like that. So anything you want to add? Yes.
Yes, well, I want to add a few points with two acts and some speeches. I had met his former roommate when they were together at Nalanda University in India. Mr. Mehjan, I think Sarah might know him by name, and Egg might know him by name. He was in a group of 3 who had been sent to Nalanda University in 1955. And Mehjan told me very clearly that Maha Ghosananda was not a good student. He said that during 2 years of the master degree in Buddhist study at Nalanda University, Maha just on and off with the class. So then Maha rarely joined the group study because normally after the class they form a group and study in small group, and Maha never joined them. And Mehjan, Amsun, Maha Ghosananda, they were given one room. They share room here means they sleep the same room together. And Mr. Mehjan told me that Maha never talked about anything except how to become a Buddha. He said he never heard him saying about the wind, the sky, the mountains, the people, the animals. He said no, within 2 years of the staying together, they heard Maha only talk about how to become a Buddha. And according to Mehjan, he just kind of come to the conclusion that Maha feels think something that he's a kind of practice the Bodhisattva, the Buddha to attain the Buddhahood. But he never said by himself, but Mehjan clearly expressed that because Mehjan had never heard anything except how to become a Buddha. And he said during the 2 years in master degree at Nalanda University, Maha always went out to associate himself with the different religious groups, either Muslim, Buddhists, or Hindus, and learn something. When he returned from outside of the university, he always came with a piece of note and say, this is the path to attain the Buddhahood. And he always shared with Mehjan only that note, he said. And sometimes he wrote in Japanese, sometimes he wrote in Hindi, and sometimes he wrote in English. And Maha always spent very quietly on his bed without saying anything. And I think the way that he is his nature, his character. But he said that Maha was very active to associate himself with the other religious groups. That is. And one thing that I would like to add is, according to Mehjan, he's saying that Maha was not satisfied with the education in the classroom. He said that education in the classroom would be useless if we did not practice those theories. So Maha always came out or went out of the classroom and get into a real world, more real world. And sometimes he said that he went to join the wedding of the Dalit people, the untouchable people, Dalit movement by the Dr. Ambedkar. Sometimes Maha went to join the wedding and to see all those, kind of movement. And he's a kind of more real world than being theoretical or preaching or something in the books. I think that is how he is, how he was. Yeah.
That is the practice of selflessness to be to attain the Buddhahood. So and then as you mentioned, it is true. It is really true that studying in the room is just only the four corner. We sometimes learn nothing, but engaging in community works will gain more knowledge. That is the fact, and then that is a very good example. So I would like to continue this to 8 on the footsteps. I think this is very important as a younger generation. And as you are a scholar, how can we walk after his footsteps, or how can we follow his pathway that he has been decorated? He had been decorated for as a younger generation. I think it's important for us to learn. And then as you are a researcher, I think you would have more knowledge on this. So could you please share with us the footsteps that all of us need to follow? Thank you.
Thank you for that question, because it's a good entry point, to what we will be exploring about him. How can we follow his footsteps? So we have to look into the way he teach us how to walk, right? So he always, even in the book Step by Step, one of the core idea about walking is you have two legs or two feet. One side is the compassion, and another side is wisdom, and this is how we should walk. So compassion should walk alongside with wisdom. So this is the way he guide us how to walk in his footsteps. And as exemplified by his way of teaching, apart from the wisdom that he shared to others, he also have the compassion to see what kind of methods that he should teach. That he should reach out to several types of people. He could talk. He could preach such a sophisticated Dharma talk. I used to listen to his preaching. That that's Venerable Yonseng Yet mentioned, multilingual preaching, and he talks about how to say in Buddhism we call Paramat. That's the advanced level of Dharma. He could reach out to the people in that level, because of he know that he has compassion to different types of people, and know exactly how to reach out to them in what way that will reach out to them effectively. And he also have he also care about other kinds of audience that he should use simply the symbolism, for example, candies, to reach out the children or to the common people. I think this is the way we should walk, because sometimes learning or teaching Dharma can be something highly sophisticated, but as he gave us an example, we can follow his footsteps by the way he reached out to people. For example, what Sarom has been doing now is like creating a small reading group with young people. I think this is also one example of how we could follow his footsteps, and relating like, for example, the Bob Marks, as he always told us, he have his own Dhammayatra every day. That means we can incorporate his way of doing in our daily lives. I think this is the way we could walk in his footsteps.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is very important. When you mention about compassion, it sounds very simple, but it is extremely difficult to develop our compassion, because we often being struck down by our anger or our greed. Sometimes we want to develop our compassion, but when we meet someone or someone made us angry, and we immediately lost our compassion to the kind of person. And so that's why wisdom, so it has to go along with each other. So as you mentioned, I think this is the best footsteps that we all, without wisdom you cannot suppress the anger or the greediness that we all have. So compassion and wisdom has to go along, and then we could reach to a certain goal in our life, and this is one of the best. And same thing, I would like to hear from all of you about the footsteps that because I think we have still have a few I think several more minutes, so we're trying to cover this and then summary, and then we good to go. So so please, Sejram, could you please share with us your understanding on his footsteps? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You know, like for those who was born after the Khmer Rouge, especially my generation, Long Viet generation, we are, you know, like hungry for heroes. You know, because you know, there were any heroes after the distractions, and then we had to give these credits to Bob because, you know, like he brought Maha, he tried to spread Maha idea all his life, and you know, like Maha, because he doesn't speak about himself, because he doesn't want any credit, he doesn't want anything for himself. Few people know him in Cambodia, especially young generation. And even we, the students at the Dhammayatra and Wat Ganda, you know, read about him, but we're not, you know, like look over, because we thought that Gandhi, Dalai Lama, Aung San Suu Kyi, or these great people, they are, well, you know, great. And then we try to forget about Maha, who are really, really next to us, speaking the same language as us. So I just found out later, you know, like learn to love him and learn to see his greatness only later. When you go, you know, like study all these leaders, all the philosophy, and then you go back and then you look and say, oh, actually, we had one as well, you know. Uh, I have an example, like when I studied about Gandhi, he never interested in his, you know, like religions, Hindu, Bhagavad Gita, the best scriptures in Hinduism. He only learned that in English language when he went to study in England. And then later on, that he said, when you go back to your roots, when you study your religions, you know, like properly, and it's there, it's all there. So now I wanted to study Apitam after going all these theories and learn about this and that. Actually, we have it. It's there. But our ability to go and look in deep into this issue is not, you know, it wasn't there in the past. So for me, Maha, you know, like when you learn about him and you get to know him and you love him, and nothing, just love him because he's there. The knowledge, the wisdom, the compassion, love is there. But you have to find a way to see these beauties. So yeah, for the footsteps, you know, like we are trying our best. You know, like we're not foremost, you know, like Maha followers or students, but we're just trying to keep his spirit alive, you know, like, and now, like Ik mentioned, I'm sitting here in the Wayao libraries, that we're trying to get students to read about Mahas, to get to know about Maha. And also in the past, we used to set up friends to get up, set up a Maha foundations, but it didn't work well, and now Bob is responsible for Maha funds. This fund helping Battambang Buddhist University with humanitarian works. And now we're working with the former students of Wat Ganda. We're trying to get up an award called Maha Ghosananda Award. We have a very small fund, but you know, like because we don't know, Maha never talked when his birthday. We want to give the award on his birthday, but we don't know exactly when is his birthday. So we probably set up, you know, give out an award on his, you know, day that he passed away in March. And also that is the day that the Dhammayatra, you know, like annual Dhammayatra walk is also in March. We're working on that to give out an award to the, you know, unsung heroes, for those who work for their whole life, planting trees, getting children go to schools. It's just only small way to remember Maha by giving this award to those who are not claiming to be a Dhammayatra student or follower, but they had done their whole life, they've done some work for the communities. This is what we've been working on right now. And I think that's maybe one of the way to follow his steps.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So it's very important, and I can sense that the most important thing for all of us to succeed, it is to pay attention to all the things around us, and be able to change it for a better. Then that is the pathway of going to succeed in our life. So the same thing, Venerable Dr. Yan Seng Yet. What is your take on the footstep of Venerable Ghosananda? So could you please share with us?
I'm gonna share with a very few tips, especially with the definition of the term Dhammayatra, which we say we walk for peace, or simply mean like Madame Van Sivon defined the term yatra as walking to find people and ask them not to kill each other. But literally the term Dhammayatra, according to Maha Ghosananda, which we can hear from his preaching, one of the preachings, he said that Dhammayatra means it is a way of life, fostering all kinds of means to have a peaceful life without any violence. Dhammayatra is not something protocol or procession. Actually, in its ultimate sense, it's just a way of life in each and every day, and try to live peacefully without resorting to violence. And it is very clearly that the definition of the term Dhammayatra is based on this principle, the core principle that taught by Maha. It said that peace is always a point of arrival and a point of departure. That is why we must always begin again, step by step, and never get discouraged. So in this principle, in this statement, he clearly said that Dhammayatra is about everyday life. To live Dhammayatra is to live according to the Dhamma. No violence, and peacefully, and see all the human beings are brothers and sisters. Only when the whole world can see the other nations, like Cambodian people see Americans as their own brother and sister, and Chinese see the Israel, see African, see Asian or Hispanic as their own brother and sister. Only then the real peace will occur in this world. And Maha always sees something beyond the boundary of the common people thing. He always sees something more human beings. See human beings, the other nationality is more human being than kind of which the one, sorry, let me put this way. Maha always try to see human being as his own brothers and sisters. So the legacy that we can follow his step is the first basic principle that we can adhere to is see other nationalities as our brothers and sisters. Then we can get more kind of love, or allow ourselves to love more people when we see something not different from us. Actually, in the ultimate sense, or in Abhidharma, there is no Cambodian, no Chinese, no American, no Vietnamese, no Lao, no Thai. There is only human beings. So in the ultimate sense, this is clearly taught in the in Buddhism, in Buddhist scripture. And someone can go back to Abhidharma and learn it. You're gonna fall in love with the way that the Abhidharma taught by the Buddha. So I am very happy to hear that. And,
thank you. Yeah.
Before I end my, I would like to share one more lines from Ghosananda. He said that peace and wars are like the sand on the tips of the needle. And we have to choose between war and peace and keep it alive. Otherwise, it will be gone. So the absence of war doesn't mean ultimate peace on paper. It has to begin with each and everyone's hearts, because he said that the peace and war is just like a tip of the sand on the middle, the point of the needle. So it can go and it will it can go, it can come. So each and every day, we human beings have to be cautious on that. Simply live your life, live your Dhammayatra without resorting to violence and peace. So this is that we can follow his footsteps. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This is incredible. So yes, we are running out of time. I'm a little bit sad to end this topic. Actually, I think we could do more, but because we have a limited time. So lastly, I would like to give each of you a chance to speak about this topic and to share your encouragement to the people on how we can follow his footsteps, and more importantly, how can we put those things into practice. So I would like to start with Ik. Each of you will have 1 minute, so you make the best of it. How can you encourage people to put those footsteps into practice in their daily life, and how can we make the best of us for the sake of the human being peace and happiness? So could you please share with us? Thank you.
How can we practice? I would simply put it, just practice, because because the Dharma cannot be alive without practice, right? Something written in the canon is just in the canon. As long as you practice, you keep the Dharma alive. And I think this is the most important part that Maha Ghosananda show us and guide us. That, the way of practice, you just practice. That's the way you keep Dharma alive. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So Saram, could you please?
I would go back to the basic teaching, in Buddhism. First one is to do good. The second one is to not just only doing good, but avoid doing bad things. And then to purify your mind, to make your mind, get rid of all the negative seeds that are the big obstacle of world peace or personal peace. And in Maha teaching, he's always go back to the 5 precepts, and he tells that if you can't remember all the 5, just remember the first one: do not kill. So this is very, very basic. So just stop, causing, even though you can do great things. We're not, like carrying the world, by ourselves. We have to do our part a little bit of our part to help the world's a better place. So just if you can't do good all the time, just avoid doing bad. Just stop doing what you think that's not only harm yourself, but harming others. So I think this is the for me is the best teaching.
Thank you. So Venerable Yansen, please.
I forget to say one important word in my our first session. You asked me who I would call Maha Ghosananda. I would call him a silent breaker. Because in 1979 and especially in 1992, when the roads in Cambodia, because at that time we were still having a civil war, and Maha Ghosananda started to lead a peace march on the road, which had been unseen for decades. Since 1970 to 1970, that there were Buddhist monks walking on the road and preaching a message of love and compassion, of forgiveness. And one more thing is there is some misunderstanding that Maha it's trying to, why Maha tried to preach for why Maha tried to lead Dhammayatra for peace, because the peace deal was signed in 1992, in October 23rd, 1992 already, by all the conflicting parties. But actually the peace that Maha Ghosananda mean, that he worked for peace, meaning that the peace of the heart. Because at that time there was none of any organization, or including the UN, did not go deeply, was not able to go deeply into the hearts of the wounded Cambodian people. So Maha used this kind of Dhammayatra to go and into the wounded hearts of Cambodian people and to heal it with compassion. That is, he called a priest. He did not call a priest by signing paper. That was good thing, that was amazing, and was great thing that all the political parties and conflicting groups signed a deal. We were very happy with that. But Maha was the only one person who was able to go into the hearts of Cambodian peoples, starting by using the method of leading Dhammayatra, walking across the country. Because while we were walking on the road, there were many people just came, and those people were traumatized very seriously, badly. And they came and told Maha that, I'm very happy, I can hear something which is very positive again after decades. So, we can see some sort of healing while we were walking. This is the peace that Maha Ghosananda mean. It is not a peace on the paper. The peace mean a peaceful heart. And I would like to end with very few words. As a Buddhist monk, I totally agree with Maha Ghosananda, and I'm very supportive of his speech, saying that the Buddhist monk must get out of the traditional temple and walk into the temple of the human experiences, meaning that monks must not pray only in the temple while the people in the village, in the country, are suffering.
Yeah, I think it's something stuck in there. Oh, okay. I think there is something wrong with the connection, but yeah, that's okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. This is incredible.
Of the Buddha.
Yeah. Thank you, Venerable. Thank you so much for your contribution on this topic, and each and every one of you, Ik and Sarom. This is incredible. And yes, we all can speak Cambodian, but we are speaking English because we want to reach out to the people, to the non-speaker, and at the same time, we want to share our perspective and more importantly, our mutual understanding to all human beings. So language is a tool that we all can use it for the good benefit of the people. So that's why we are doing this. So once again, thank you so much, Venerable Dr. Yonseng Yet, and both of you very much. And I would like to end this topic. And then I hope that one day we can look for another topic and invite all of you to come and join us again. And to all the people, to all of viewers, to all our monks who happen to watch this program, thank you so much for following us and watching us. And I hope all of you could find a way to live with peace, and at the same time sharing peace to the people around you and to the world. And this is the topic of Dhammayatra by Samdech Maha Ghosananda, and this is what we did our best to share the knowledge with all of you. And lastly, I hope all of you live happily, and most importantly, be mindful with this pandemic, and live a life with your greatness. So thank you so much, and I hope you all have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank
you
you.
for having us.
Thank you.